Hey, so welcome to another entry of the Warrior's Journal. So in today's entry, I want to talk about the Earth. I want to talk about our planet. I want to talk about some of the things that we're doing that are really messing it up. And I think one of those things is plastics, right? So something that's really talked about a lot these days is sustainability. And how can we live more sustainably? How can we live in a way that is more balanced? How can we live in a way where we're not damaging the planet as much as we have been? And I think plastic is probably one of the worst situations that we have right now. It feels to me, watching everything that's going on, watching the footage that we're seeing about from the oceans and the beaches and certain parts of the earth, where it just feels like plastic is swallowing the planet at this point. Right? There are parts of the ocean that are just covered in this stuff. And the more I read about the science behind it, the more I understand how plastic works, the worse it gets for me. Once you've recycled plastic 3, 4, 5 times, it's no longer usable. And then it just becomes these really tiny little particles that are going to basically just get into everything, especially in the ocean. So there have been two things that have happened. There's two people actually who've really opened my mind to sustainability and who've encouraged me, who've motivated me to do something about it. Now, those two people are the first person you've probably never heard of. His name is Benjamin Gilkis, and he's the founder of a company called Edwell Energy. And they've developed this really amazing app called Swarm, which is all about being more sustainable and reducing our carbon footprint. So in the video studio where I work, we've been helping them to develop a YouTube channel where they're putting out all these amazing episodes on sustainability, on living a more sustainable lifestyle. And so through a lot of the conversations that I've been having with them, it's been motivating me to live more sustainably and to do more, because I think we can all do more, right? So that's one source of motivation for me. The other source of motivation is actually a very famous person, which is the actor Jason Momoa, who plays Aquaman. And he recently was on The Ellen Show. He also has a YouTube channel that I follow, where he was talking about this new water company that he's launching, which will be offering canned water. So different types of water offered in aluminum cans versus plastic bottles. And obviously there's other water companies that do this, but he was explaining how an aluminum can in 60 days can become another aluminum can. So aluminum is completely recyclable. As where plastic, a plastic bottle, that plastic water bottle that you're using, it can never become another plastic water bottle. So whenever you use a single-use plastic water bottle, that bottle will never be used again in that way. So when you're throwing it out, chances are, even if you're throwing it in a recycle bin, chances are it's going to end up at the dump. And I understand that recycling is also a business, right? Just because something is sent to a recycling plant doesn't mean it's going to be recycled, because someone needs to want that plastic. There has to be a buyer for that plastic. If nobody needs it, if nobody wants it, they're not going to use it. I think the number is something like 90% of the plastic goods that we buy are first generation plastic. So that plastic is new. That plastic that we're buying most of the time is newly produced plastics. So every time we buy plastic, we're putting more plastic into the world. That's messed up. That's really messed up. And when you think about the billions of people on this planet that are using that, man, it's crazy. It's really, really nuts. And I feel like if we don't start doing something, that may be one of the worst situations we have to live with, is the fact that at some point our oceans are going to be covered in plastic. Our earth is going to be covered in plastic. So what can we do? I'm not an expert. I'm not pretending to be an expert. And I just feel like if each individual makes a small effort to be more aware of the plastic consumption in their lives, it'll make a difference. It can make a huge difference. So here are 3 ways that I've started trying to kind of change my habits in order to use less plastic. This is what I've come up with so far. I'm hoping that I can figure out more ways. But once you open your mind to it, it's crazy how you notice it more and more in your daily life. So the first thing that I started thinking was, okay, where do I most consume plastic? In my family, we actually drink a lot of sparkling water. We drink a lot of seltzer, Perrier, whatever you want to call it. Most of the time, we end up buying the plastic bottle. I noticed it, and right away I thought, okay, well, that's the first thing that's got to go. So instead now, I buy cans. right? So after listening to Jason Momoa explain the whole idea how an aluminum can become an aluminum can, it just makes sense. There's tons of aluminum options out there when it comes to bubbly water. So there you go. Solution, boom. Comes in a cardboard box. So the paper's recyclable, the aluminum's recyclable, way more recyclable than the plastic bottle we were buying previously. So that's the first one. The second one is takeout, right? So takeout and delivery. Takeout, if you go and eat somewhere. So let's say you're on your lunch break and you run to the place and you grab something to go and you bring it back to your office. That's probably coming in a plastic container or a styrofoam container or something that cannot be recycled. And it's just going into the garbage afterwards, right? So, but if I cook something at home and put it in a reusable container, there's no waste. The only waste is the food waste. And here in New York, they actually have those brown compost bins. So it's a zero waste situation, right? So now meal prep more often. Prepare my lunch. Take those extra few minutes in the morning to prepare something and bring it with me instead of rushing out to the local deli to buy something. Same thing with delivery. It's really difficult to get delivery and not create waste. Probably impossible. That food has to go into something, right? So it's coming in a plastic container, it's coming in an aluminum container, it's coming in styrofoam. Most of that, even the aluminum, I'm not convinced it's being recycled because most of the time it's covered in sauce and it's super dirty. So unless you really scrub it super clean, again, reducing. I'm not saying I'll never eat delivery again, but I will try to reduce the amount of delivery that I get. The other thing that I noticed more and more is produce. When you go to the grocery store, think about the amount of produce that is now wrapped in plastic. So one thing that I've bought quite a bit in the past is those plastic containers of greens, right? So baby spinach, mixed salad greens, whatever. Super convenient, already washed. All I gotta do is rip off that little plastic thing, open the top, boom, in a bowl, instant salad. Great. But then every time I use that plastic goes into the recycle bin, probably ends up on a landfill somewhere. Which is nuts, right? What's more organic than fruits and vegetables, right? So avoiding that from now on. Go to the lettuce section, buy that head of lettuce. Don't put it in a plastic bag. Buy the head of lettuce, stick it straight in the cart. They even wrap individual vegetables now, right? I went to buy zucchini the other day. Each zucchini was wrapped in plastic wrap. Each pepper was wrapped in plastic wrap. That's crazy. There's nothing more biodegradable and organic than a piece of fruit or vegetable. You wrap it in plastic, you just ruin that aspect of it. So avoid those. You want the zucchini, it's wrapped in plastic, just don't buy it. Find something that isn't, or find a store that doesn't do that, right? That's really tough for me, but there it is. I don't know. What other ideas are there? So if you guys are watching this and you have ideas on how we can reduce the amount of plastic that we use, I also know that getting things delivered is creating more plastic. Amazon is constantly just wrapping things in bubble wrap and putting in those inflatable plastic bags in order to protect the thing that doesn't even need to be protected. So maybe going to the store instead of ordering from Amazon is a way to do it. I don't know. So if you guys have any ideas, please leave it in the comments. I'd love to have a conversation about this. I'd love to learn more about how I can reduce my plastic consumption. I'm hoping that this video reaches people and is able to motivate others to reduce their plastic consumption. I just think that there's so much more we could be doing. I've also figured out that sometimes it's a bunch of small little actions that can create a much bigger impact than trying to do that one big thing, which is often impossible to achieve. So there it is. I'm fired up. Had a lot to say about plastic apparently. I just think it's super important. I don't want my son's future to be drowned in plastic because we destroyed this planet. And that's it. So I look forward to more entries. If any of what I'm saying resonates with you, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, comments, messages are super welcome. And that's it. Peace.